Good evening everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Maz and today I'm in Staverton. And in today's video, I'll be trying out this Jaguar E-Pace. A quick overview, the Jaguar E-Pace was launched in 2017, replacing, well, nothing really. It's the first ever Jaguar of its category. Now, underneath the E-Pace body lies a first generation Range Rover Evoque, as opposed to being based on the F-Pace. Around 2020, the facelift came, which updated the E-Pace a lot. Competitors of this car include the BMW X1, the Volvo XC40 and the Lexus UX. So coming to the front now, that was a very short overview since there was not much to talk about. So this later model comes with these Jaguar lozenges on its grille. You can choose to have them in gloss black as part of the black pack. This later car has this surround around the intakes. And being a later car, this particular car has the updated headlights. So they sweep like an Audi, and you get not one but two J's on the headlights. The earlier car would just have the bottom one on its own. Of course it has the signature bonnet bulge, and the key is just like any other Jaguar from 22 onwards. And of course, being an SUV, you get an SUV emblem for the boot. Coming to the side, this particular car has these diamond cut wheels, 20 inches, which is very, very big for a car of its size. This later car has the leaper on its side vent. The E-Pace is the entry-level Jaguar, and Jaguar show this with this cub following a larger Jaguar. These mirrors are different to any other Jaguar. The side profile of the car is inspired by the F-Type, most noticeably on the greenhouse area. This particular car is a hybrid system, so you get the traditional fuel door here. There's the P300E emblem denoting that this is a hybrid, and on this side you have the charge port. Coming to the back, once again very reminiscent of the F-Type, and this later car has these fake exhaust exits here. On the earlier car they're round. Coming to the boot, you get a powered tailgate in this higher spec car. This is the space you get. There's even a bag here for your cables, and some space underneath the false floor. That's been taken away by this spare wheel. Of course, those that don't have the spare wheel will have extra storage. And you could press the button here, or you can press the button here to close the tailgate. Also, fun fact, these E-Paces are not built in Britain, they are built in Austria. Coming to the back, these doors are very large and very important for this class of car. They extend below the sill. So, when the car is muddy, the interior sill remains clean. In here you got black leather with contrast stitching. This particular car has the soft Windsor leather, which is Jaguar speech for full grain nappa. You do get Isofix points, but Jaguar like to make their covers removable, which I don't really like. You've got an armrest here with two cup holders, and on the doors you do get this fabric just above the door handle, and a bit of chrome here, and once again the Windsor leather is extended onto the grab handle. This particular car even has the shag pile mats. Lesser models will have more traditional materials. Now, sitting in the back of the E-Pace, headroom is generous. Knee and legroom is acceptable for a car of this size, but I know that seat can go forwards. It's currently set to my personal driving position, but my personal driving position for this car was set low. But if I were to sit at a much more upright position, there will be more space for me in the back. And of course you get these two air vents. Strangely, they don't say Jaguar on them. And there's also a 12-volt socket in this particular model. And of course some nets on the seat backs. Despite being an all-black interior, it's very light in here thanks to this glass roof. Once again, with the front door, the bottom of the door covers the sill, so this is always nice and clean, even after you take a muddy route around the forest. The door handle is very reminiscent of later Jaguars, which I do like the upmarket feel of. Unfortunately, this has the older style window switches. I think the silver ones here would have looked much nicer, but at least you got the soft Windsor leather on this grab handle in this particular higher spec car, memory seats, and once again that soft material, and these door pockets are big enough to hold a bottle. Now coming inside, I'm glad to say the interior does look really nice, and once again the F-Type theme carries on, and in the case of this later car and high spec car, it's even better. So for starters, let me just move this sun visor over. This does not have the fake suede, but at least the soft material is extended onto the sun visor. The steering wheel once again is from the I-Pace with these really nice larger metal pedals, and the indicator stalks have these silver ends on them. And again, if you can see it from your angle, these Windsor leather seats have the leaper embossed onto the headrest. So here's my point of view. This facelifted car has this much nicer steering wheel with nicer paddles, smaller center boss. This particular car has half analog, half digital screen, but you can opt for a full screen if you want. And like I said, the F-Type theme is very strong in this E-Pace. So for starters, you do get this grab handle area. The pre-facelift did have a gear selector similar to the F-Type, but this facelift comes with a cricket ball stitch, which I actually prefer and takes up less space. On the E-Pace, you do get these Jaguar print on the phone storage bin, and it's also very deep as well. Being a hybrid car, you do get this EV button here, just like on the F-Type. There's this drive mode selector, and the volume dial is on the center console. And just to remind you what car you're in, there's an E-Pace embossment here. You do get two cup holders in the middle. I'd prefer them to be covered. The center console armrest, again, resembles an F-Type. Open it, and you do get a very decent storage. Once again, the Jaguar pattern is carried on here. You do get a USB and a USB-C. And on the bottom of the center console door are places where you can store notes. Also, if this space looks a bit too small, you can remove this as well. You just simply pull this tab here, and away it comes. And you do get a very, very big center storage area. But I like cup holders, so this stays here. The leather also extends onto the dash, just not as soft. It's even on the passenger airbag area. Again, the outer vents are inspired by the F-Type, and even though the center ones don't open, they are in the same shape. The glove box is huge, bearing in mind this is the entry-level Jaguar. You do get Meridian sound system in this particular car, and these shag pile luxury mats get the Jaguar branding on the front mats, both on the passenger and on the driver. And here's what the seats look like, exactly the same as the pre-facelift, only with Windsor leather, this fancy Jaguar label, and of course the aforementioned leaper. This button here controls the blinds. This is where the sunglasses holder would be, but of course you can just retrofit the regular sunglasses holder if you want to. And there are no grab handles in this car. The only place you can hang your coat is on the B-pillar. And of course here are your pedals. The earlier cars did come with manual, so they would come with a much smaller footrest, but this later car is auto only, so you do get a massive footrest that can actually accommodate your foot. Once again, here are the luxury mats. The controls for the seats are down here as opposed to on the door, and strangely the fuel door is released by a button. Of course, one of my favourite things about later Jaguars is this frameless mirror, and it curves the same direction as the rear window. Coming back down here, so to turn on the ignition, it's this button here. The seat goes back to where it was, and this is the PIVI system. Now the pre-facelift cars had 3 dials here, once again resembling the F-Type, but in here they did away with that and you only get 2 dials, which personally I prefer. I also like the finishes on the rim of these dials, and newer Jaguars have the heated front screen as standard. And of course, Jaguar Coventry, reminding you about the brand's heritage. Since we're here, watch this. If you pull on these, that is the fan speed. And it goes all the way to 7. Turning it all the way to the left turns them off. So let's just leave it at 2. And then to go to heated seats, you press this button here, and there you go. You just tap here for your seat heaters. But on some Jaguars you push in for heated seats. Earlier cars would have the in-control system, but I promise you this PIVI is a huge improvement. Not that I was complaining about the pre-facelift's infotainment. Of course, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both standard. This E-Pace even has Dynamic Eye, which lets you set up each factor individually, so you can have comfort gear shifts and then dynamic everything else, or vice versa. There's even a stopwatch if you want to go to Carl's Coombe to see how quick you can set a lap time in your E-Pace. And of course, your lap times. And there's even a G-meter to see how sideways you can get in your E-Pace. Bearing in mind this is meant to be a small family crossover. And of course, you got parking cameras. This particular car only has the rear, but you can choose to have 360 surround as well. Here's something interesting. This even helps you find parking locations. But we'll leave that for now. I probably wouldn't bother. There's even a vehicle health app. Of course, hybrid, meaning it's got the EV mode. There's even Alexa in this car. Inspired by Land Rover, you can choose to have a low traction launch in case you're in some muddy surfaces or if you're doing a very slow descent. And of course, this button here is also Land Rover derived. Back to the steering wheel, this particular car has radar guided cruise control, so this dial here helps you to set how fast you want the cruise control to be, and this is how close or how far away you want to be from the vehicle in front. And of course, if the car in front slows down, you slow down too. This particular car even has heated steering wheel and lane keeping assist. Similar to VW Audi groups, this emblem here looks very similar to the favourites button on those cars. And of course you can pick up phone calls from the wheel, and that's a blank space. And of course, let's have a quick look at the center screen. So the OK is actually just pressed down on the left dial, and the center screen is set to maps, which I actually prefer. So press on the center screen once again to go into the info panel, and then you just use these buttons here to control what you want to do. A bit laggy, but I'm sure you'll get used to it easily. But the content found in here is pretty much the same as any other Jaguar, just obviously with a bigger screen. Let's just leave it with the maps for now. So that's the exterior and interior done now, so let's see what this car is like to drive. So, foot on the brake, start. Okay, so it starts off in electric mode, but it's not really noticeable, and here we are setting off, and it's absolutely quiet in here. Trouble was that I wasn't sure if the car was on. Put into reverse. That reversing camera is much better. That was the only thing loud in this car, was that lock mechanism. Steering wheel is on the lighter side compared to what I'm used to, and there is a little bit of whirring noise going beyond 10 miles an hour. Also, I forgot to mention, I used to have an E-Pace courtesy car, courtesy of Jaguar Melksham. That was before I really started doing YouTube videos, and that was a white checkered flag edition, late 2019, so just before the facelift came in. The rev counter is now working, so I'm guessing that's now in engine mode. This car has hold as well, which I don't think was available on the pre-facelift E-Pace, so I'm glad this has come over as well. The footrest is definitely an improvement. On the earlier car you can only rest about a quarter of your foot. The indicator tick is an improvement as well. Sounds more classy and more upmarket. The pedals do feel a bit funny, but they are Land Rover derived. I remember on the earlier car there was a little dead zone on the brake pedal, but on this one not so much, so that's an improvement. The accelerator pedal does look a bit funny, it's very long and thin, and it doesn't quite align with the footrest. And the traffic here in Staverton is absolutely atrocious. Seriously, why couldn't Jaguar implement this hold system sooner? And despite being in the entry-level car, I feel very relaxed in here. This car does have manually adjustable steering. I would prefer to have it higher, but due to the nature of this car being a high-riding vehicle, a small one in fact, there we go. So that's completely straight, but it's too low for my liking. And if I put it to its highest position, it's a bit too far away at the top. It just sort of tilts upwards rather than telescopic. It does adjust for reach, but yeah, steering adjustment in this car is a little compromised. So this is sort of a halfway point. It's not quite onto my knees, and it's not too much of a stretch to reach the 12 o'clock position. And what's interesting is I can still see the Jaguar cub on the windscreen. Rearward visibility is very good, though strangely Jaguar don't really house the rear wiper underneath the tailgate spoiler like Land Rover do. So to operate the rear wiper you just twist the right stalk, and to wash it you just press the button on the end. Personally, I'm just not a big fan of rear wipers. They rob a little bit of rearward visibility, a little bit in this case. They're just not tucked away as elegantly as the front ones. Due to the general nature of this car sitting higher, I'm able to see more of the road, and more importantly, where each corner of the car is. And I forgot to mention, even though the drive mode selector is very similar to the F-Type, the driving options are closer to what you'll find in an XE or an XF. So there's Eco, there's ADSR, there's Comfort, and then there's Dynamic. And of course, Dynamic makes the dials glow red. Well, the center screen in particular. So let's leave that in Comfort for now. So far, driving at 30, it's very relaxing. Even going over these very odd undulations, camera beep, even going over these odd undulations, it feels like I'm driving on a very smooth tarmac. But of course that's comfort mode. At a roundabout now. A fairly busy roundabout, but not as busy as Staverton Road. Okay, off we go. Once again, I'm guessing this car is only using electric mode. And the petrol engine only kicks in at 33 miles per hour. Steering is very, very smooth. And yet very, very direct. And we're once again in traffic. So far this car is doing really well on stop-start. One thing I really like is that the center map also highlights any traffic on the road. Currently in a very tight Cheltenham housing estate, so let's see what this car does on these types of roads. The tyre roar coming from the wheels is very, very minimal, and manoeuvrability is relatively easy. So many traffic lights on this one road. Going through a very narrow street. Nothing much to report here. Let's take a right-hander. Not at all intimidating to drive on these housing estate roads. Here's a very narrow right-hander. Apparently this is a two-way road. Lots of undulations. The car is coping well. So it does very well in the neighborhood streets, so let's see what it's like in town. Thanks to this being an aerodynamic trim, these seat bolsters are very useful. Town centre driving is very, very good. I've had absolutely nothing to complain about. So there's only one last thing to do, and that's to see what this car is like on the national speed limits. Interestingly, on the cricket ball selector, to go to sport, you don't push it to the side, you just push it back and then it swaps to sport mode. I do wish that they could have put the red on the dial face as well, like they do on other Jaguars. Finally unshackled by the Cheltenham traffic, and night is about to fall. So let's drop it down a few gears. Annoyingly, just like all the other Jaguars with this steering wheel and paddle layout, there is a notable delay when operating them. And of course, being the cricket ball selector, you can't operate it from down here either. Yep, it's just going too slow. But luckily sport mode does hold the gears a lot longer and it is more eager to respond to the accelerator. It's a lot smoother even when I put my foot down. And like I said, the paddles don't respond as quickly as on the pre-facelift. So let's do a U-turn here. Seriously, the days are getting really short here in Britain. Three, two, one, and kick down. This engine does sing beyond 5,000 revs, and that's the speed limit. Yes, it does pick up the pace, but you have to put your foot all the way down for it to come, and you have to go at least 4,000 revs. But of course that's not what this particular car is for. So let's get this car back to the compound and finalize this video. Wow, it's really getting dark. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching me try out this Jaguar E-Pace. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to stay up to speed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.